Hi guys, welcome to another episode of What's Your Kryptonite. Today with me is Mikael Burgri. Mikael is someone who's been affiliated to the world of art and architecture for the last decade or so. In fact, more than a decade to be honest. He's an interior designer, but currently he's in between careers, and there's a lot that we're going to talk to him about with regards to career, with regards to his personal life, and also where he's at currently. Hi, Mikael. How are
Hi,
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming.
Of course, thank you for having me.
As far as you are concerned, we go way back. So I think this was one episode
Yeah.
I was totally looking forward to.
Yeah.
Starting off, I just want you to tell a little about yourself so that the audience knows as well.
Mhm.
And then we can start just a conversation. Yes.
Of course, of course. So, like you've already introduced me, but I graduated from the Indus Valley School of Architecture, and I did my bachelor's in interior design. Pursued a career in a similar field, delved into architecture, delved into interior design, delved into art as well, but mostly the latter two. And that went on for about 10 years till, I thought about change, I explored options, and that's where I'm pretty much at the moment, yeah.
And talking about your personal life, like at home, you're also the youngest kid.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
that you're a kid at this point.
Yeah. To my
you're-
parents, I still am, but yeah.
So how was that? How was it at home growing up as the youngest? Like, tell me a little about that.
It was very nice. Definitely blessed to have very, very loving parents, loving brothers. So we were three brothers actually, and I was the youngest of the three, youngest from my external cousins, everything. So it was very nice. Received lots of love, lots of encouragement through the years. Was very sheltered, very, very sheltered. So yeah, it was nice.
So when you're that sheltered, you're that protected, at the end of the day, like we all grow up, there are
Yeah.
also certain expectations
Yeah.
that fall on us, right? Or that we take on, whether we realize it or not, because peers, friends around us also are taking on certain roles. And then
Mhm.
when you're a guy in a South Asian community or society,
Yeah.
the expectation is there that sooner or later you won't just get a very conventional job that will be stable and incredible,
Yeah.
but that will sustain because you will also have to provide and support a family at
Mhm.
some point in the future, sooner or later.
Mhm.
So, how did that transition, or how did these thoughts, when you're going through your 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, how was that process?
I feel like it's very interesting because I feel like that's also linked to my years prior to that in some ways, just to give you like a gist of it. How this journey began was that as a kid, I would love maths, I would love subjects like that. But on the time where I'd used to kind of think about how to add some numbers, multiply some numbers, do some fractions, I would be doodling on the side. And over the years, my mother actually noticed that I'd be crumpling these papers up and just throwing them in the dustbin. And this lady actually took them out of the dustbin, and for all these years, I had no idea she was collecting them. And it turns out there were sketches, there were whatnot, I don't even remember, because they were just doodles, that's the way I think. And she kept that, and I feel like that was the first realization or the first encouragement I got when I was nearing into my O-levels. And we had to choose our subjects. And my mother said, why don't you take art? I'm like, why? Why art? Like I want to do sciences. My friends are doing sciences. All my guy friends, they're all doing sciences and all those things. She's like, no, take art. I'm like, okay, fine. My dad was very encouraging about that as well. And it was really nice to see that because no one in my family comes from that background. They're doctors, engineers, they're in finance, accounting. There's not a single soul that's doing anything remotely close to art or any creative field, as not only to start. So it was very nice to receive that love prior to being in my 20s and even after being in my 20s when they encouraged me to kind of go in that direction. Yeah.
So, did art become something of a career for you, given that that was clearly a passion,
Yeah.
not just your own passion, but also it was something that people or family were supporting you about, right? So, did it become a career for you, or was there a lot of transgressions,
Yeah, yeah,
U-turns,
yeah.
certain instances?
It didn't, unfortunately, it didn't turn into a profession for me because as much as my mother encouraged this, at the back of my head, I battled that thought process of how will art transform into a monthly income that will transform into being independent or getting up on your own two feet or providing for a family.
Right.
And I battled that a lot, which is why I feel like I stuck with that love for math as well, because that brought some sort of conformity, some sort of, problem solving in my life. And eventually, when I got done with my A levels, I started practicing in the field of architecture.
Right.
And that is where I saw that, man, there's this field that exists that I can actually practice my creative side. And at the same time, I see like a 9 to 5 coming out of it,
Yes.
And yeah, that's how it happened, that the battle.
So, would you say that if you, like, given that you're the youngest, was it easier or really difficult to come to that point? Because, yes, there's a battle going on internally in your head, but no one knows about that battle. And then 20s are also a very confusing stage because we don't have it all figured out. It's like 25, 26, people have their expectations, society, family, friends.
Yeah.
Okay, things will work out, ho jani chahiye is point tak. But we also don't know where we are. We are also still dabbling. Even if you're if you're working in the corporate sector. If I talk about myself, I switched jobs like nobody's business. After a point, my own mother started saying, you need to stop and sustain yourself somewhere because you won't be taken seriously. So how did that, how did that balance reach?
That balance, I feel, when I started working in the field, right, and when my parents were encouraging me to go into interior design or architecture or whatever it was easy. There are two sides to it. So it was easy in the sense that since I was the youngest, they had tried and tested with the other two that, do this in this way, you have to do this in that way.
Right.
That when my turn came, they're like, you do your thing,
Okay.
right? Not taking you seriously, you do your thing, कुछ ना कुछ कर लो. तो उस हवाले से मेरा कुछ ना कुछ होता गया. I'm like, सही encouraging. Till the day came where they're like, why aren't you earning? Where's your monthly income? Why isn't that coming? They're like, we're not asking you to pay the bills and any of that, but you need your monthly income. You're a guy. You need to earn. There's ये freelancing और वगैरह सब छोड़ दो. What is this 3 month की payment आ रही है, 1 साल की payment आ रही है. You need your monthly 9 to 5. भले वो 20,000 हो. मैं कभी वो बात भूल नहीं सकता. They're like कि अगर मेरे साल के लाखों में आ रहे हो, it doesn't count. As long as you're month to month, वो 20,000 भी हो, 15,000 भी हो, 10,000 भी हो, वो 9 to 5 month to month की salary होनी चाहिए. तो वो constantly that kept playing in my head, and till date, to a great extent, that plays in my head because that's the way we are kind of groomed and conformed to in a societal, level, not only on a personal level, because these things stems from generational mindsets that are passed on. You might be a girl or a guy or whatever it may be, but these things, they bleed into the way you think.
That's true. So when you were going through this process, what exactly did being a provider mean to you? Because you're not married currently, I know that, but when that point comes, everyone has a certain understanding. There are many people who think whoever she is or whoever he is, my partner, in this day and age, the concept of 50-50, or she needs to be independent, or she needs to figure something out, or he needs to figure something out. Also, economically, we are living in a country and in a world where unless you're not the Prince of Persia, you cannot expect one person to be the be-all and end-all, financially speaking. So when you hear the word, you need to be the provider, the supporter. So what does that mean to you, given we're sitting in Pakistan?
On a very, I wouldn't say a general level, but to be specific more so, is that it means to to bring in more than that 50%, to cover the basics,
Yeah.
which is your roti, kapda, makan,
Yes.
right? Provide the food in the house,
Yeah.
provide the house itself,
Yes.
and provide everything around that sense of security,
Yes.
that you're that blanket for your family.
Yes.
That God forbid if your wife or your husband or your son or your daughter or anyone in that family,
Yes.
you know, let goes of their job or whatever it may be, you are that blanket, that safety net for them.
Yes.
The head of the household, the head of the family. And yeah, that's what it means.
So, given that society puts these expectations on us, but many a times it's not people who are just constantly saying it, it's also us who are taking that pressure on as we grow older.
Mhm.
Like, I know at this point, a lot of people don't say things to me directly, but I sit and think about a lot of things
Yeah.
that I'm a girl, I'm living in Pakistan, I need to be conducting myself a certain way. And exactly like you said, it's ingrained in our DNA.
Mhm.
Because if you're doing something different, or if you're just, transgressing even in a certain way, it's like eyes will be on you. People
Yeah.
will talk, if not on your face, very easily behind your back.
Yeah.
And that expectation, so if you've crossed 30, if you're not married, or if you've
Yeah.
crossed a certain point and that stable job is not there, वजह क्या है, मसला क्या है. So how did you take society's pressure easily, or was it just you going like, no wait, my family has said this, now this is just something I need to figure out?
When I suppose a lot of people can relate to that, when you're in your late teens, right, your family to a great extent stops becoming your priority. You start becoming a bit rebellious.
Yes.
And at that change, you start finding a family, like friends like family, that
Yes.
phrase. And that becomes so important to you at times, क्योंकि family तो मुझे मना कर रही है, बाहर नहीं जाने दे रही, ये नहीं करने दे रही, वो नहीं दोस्तों के साथ जाना है, you know,
Yes.
यहाँ जाना है, वहाँ जाना है, घूमने जाना है, late night जाना है, कुछ भी हो, to whatever level. And that really did affect me.
Okay.
Because that is where society starts kicking in. You start separating yourself from the shelter of family,
Yeah.
and start coming into this whole new world, being the youngest in this case, being unaware in this case,
Yes.
of a whole new mindset.
Yes.
And yahan to bhai, someone's doing a 9 to 5, someone's in finance, someone's in accounting, someone is doing, these things, and
Conventional jobs.
conventional jobs.
Exactly.
And that's when you start thinking that, okay, maybe it's not okay what I'm doing. Family bhale se keh rahi, okay, go do this thing, do what you want. But that's when it starts kicking in, society's mindset starts kicking in and kind of becoming one with mine.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, no, it's not right. I need to shift into a different field. I need to shift my mindset. I need to become a provider. I need to, घर की जो औरतें हैं उनके लिए you need to become like this rock. भले वो
Yes.
आपकी माँ हो, बीवी भी नहीं हो, माँ भी हो.
Yes.
But you need to take care of them. And to a great extent, I do believe that.
Yes.
I'm born in this country, raised in this country, raised in this society, that I do believe that I do need to take care of my parents.
Yes.
Eventually do need to take care of a family, my wife, my kids, and all of these things. So that does become a part of you.
So, do you think there's a place for vulnerability, or a space where a man can turn around, or you can turn around? Maybe not to your parents, or maybe yes to your parents, to your sister. I won't talk about friends. To a partner, to a spouse, to someone you're close to. Look, I'm having a really bad day. I'm having a bad week. It's not the greatest month. Not even the best year, let's be honest, at times, or years, right?
Yeah.
It's not a good phase in my life. Things are not working out
Yeah.
when I want them to, because the expectation is, and I tell you from my perspective, if I'm with someone, I would want him to take care of me. I can lean on someone.
Yeah.
So if someone is coming and saying, and that's happened in the past, if I'm perfectly honest, Iman, this is not working out, I'll be there. लेकिन अगर ये constantly सुनना पड़ जाए ना, and then I'll be like, psychologically, wait, यहाँ हर चीज़ मुझे ही करनी पड़ेगी, because घर में भी I'm the decision maker, at home I need to figure things out, and I'm being very honest right now. So with him also, I'll have to figure everything out. So
Yeah.
wait, who can I lean on? Who's my rock then?
Yeah.
So do you think it's easy for a guy to be vulnerable?
It is out of the guy's comfort zone. That's what I would say, at least for my case. It's out of my comfort zone. But it's very interesting because recently my brother, my best friend, was in town, and I was having a very similar conversation. We had, उसने अपनी दुखी कहानियाँ मुझे सुनाई, मैंने अपनी दुखी कहानियाँ. We meet like once a year, इस टाइप की बातें होती हैं. तो it was a very interesting exchange of words over there where I was like, यार, at the end of the day, जो एक भाई भाई के बीच में एक ऑफलोडिंग, एक वल्नरेबिलिटी होती है, वैसे वो एक बहन और एक बहन के बीच में वल्नरेबिलिटी होती है. What that means is that between two friends that are guys or two friends that are girls, right? They can relate more. Ab why? If equality is so important, if equality exists, why is that so relatable for so many people? Because he was sharing things to me about how, you have to get up on your own 2 feet, you have to be the head of the family and all these things. Why wouldn't a girl be able to relate to that?
Yeah.
She would be able to understand that. Of course, she would be able to relate to that as well. But it might not be as comfortable for a guy to be that vulnerable because they would think that, maybe she's not understanding that. Maybe she's not able to grasp that in its entirety because उसके societal expectations different होते हैं. I'm not saying कम और ज़्यादा, different होते हैं.
Yes.
और एक आदमी के different होते हैं.
That's true.
So yes, it is very difficult to be vulnerable, but if you have that one friend, that one brother, or even your mother, because उसमें then आप gender मैं तो नहीं देखता उसमें. I would find it easier to be vulnerable to my mother than to my father.
Yeah.
My dad would expect me to, power through it.
Yeah.
But my mother would be like, नहीं बेटा,
Yeah.
वो बहलाएंगी आपको थोड़ी सी,
That's true. Yes, and that's what mothers do.
Yeah.
You're also from Karachi Grammar School.
Yeah.
And I know when you're a grammarian, in Karachi particularly, it's not just a very secluded bubble, it's also a very different world. So it's like there's KGS and there are certain other schools or universities, and then there's Karachi. So when you enter that bubble, and if you're there, in your case, like for 15 years, it's like a whole other world. It's like Gossip Girl, insiders, and then New York,
oh gosh.
right? For that, for the lack of a better example, but that's literally how it is. So a lot of people who are there, boys and girls, they come from similar backgrounds, and by default they have similar values because they're growing up together, or एक ही system में है. But when you come out from grammar, what you see in Karachi or in any city for that matter, when you come out from such bubbles, it's like, wait, this is not how the guys were in school, this is not how the girls were. Wait, we were very different, we were very unaware of a lot of things. How was that experience? Like, tell me about that.
So that experience was very, it was difficult. It was very difficult. I might not have realized it at the time, but when I reflect on it now, I realize how truly difficult it was. Because once that bubble popped of just being around the same faces, the same people for 15 years, 15 saal aapki zindagi hai, that bubble popped in a very interesting way because I realized how others saw, like when I went to a different institute or, mingled with other people, I saw how they felt differently towards me. And mujhe to, I was happy-go-lucky, right? Like, chal pado, sabse baat karo, this, that. But I didn't receive the same response. And that stemmed from both friends, from institutions, from family as well, from, lots of different avenues. Because once again, culturally speaking, not that it makes a difference, but in this case is what I felt, is that culturally speaking, like, even just being a Sindhi, and then वो आप कराची ग्रामर स्कूल से अंग्रेज़ी बोलते हैं, आपका एक लहजा होता है, सिंधी लहजा नहीं है आपका. And I come from that a very Sindhi background, an agricultural background, and that also really, like, people couldn't make sense of it for some reason. कि सिंधी भी है, ग्रामर से भी है, यहाँ है, ये कर रहा है, ये क्यों कर रहा है, वो क्यों नहीं है, like 100 सवाल होते हैं. उसमें I lost my identity for a good amount of years. I just lost my identity. I was happy-go-lucky. I've decided to study this. I've decided to be here. Let's just go with the flow. And usi mein, I was stuck in that.
So what was your learning, like positive or negative, if I were to ask, from all these years post-grammar? with people?
My learning was that fortunately, just do you, because there will be people who appreciate. There will be people, no matter what you do good for them also, they will never appreciate it. And that was pretty much my learning from this, that if you just go ahead with what you want to do, your passions, it should be rewarding. What you do should be rewarding to you, personally to you, not to your family, not to your friends, not to anyone else, because at the end of the day, you have to fight your battles. You can have the most positive of social circles, the most positive, but you have to take those steps. Your friends can encourage you, your family can encourage you, but you have to walk your life. You have to do your job. You have to face yourself.
That's true.
The battles that you would be fighting, the battles that I would be fighting,
Yeah.
end of the day और कोई भी नहीं होता, right? आईने में आप ही देख रहे होते हैं, you're like मैं कहाँ पहुँच गया हूँ, ये क्या हो गया मेरे साथ. तो that feeling, friends will say, talk to us about it, open up to us, we are there for you, use us. Family will say, talk to someone. Therapy के लिए भी बंदा चला जाए, but end of the day, it is just you.
That is so true. Okay, wow, you had me speechless for a mere moment there, because honestly, I was processing a lot of what you were saying.
Yeah.
Were there any ever moments of pushback? Because see, when there's so much happening, like you said, in the moment realize nahi hota. वो कुछ अरसे के बाद realize होता है, wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
Or where did my life go? Or how did so much happen? Or how did I turn into this very different individual?
Yeah.
Like, if in my case, I was like, how did I go from that to just being a person I can't even relate to, right? That happens when very small or big, even small experiences are happening in culmination. Like collectively, that's generally what happens. So was there ever pushback? Was there ever rage, aggression, or passive aggressive behavior? I'm not saying rage like screaming and shouting. At times that can happen too.
Of course.
But just or rebellion. एक रिबेल भी तो निकल के आता है ना कि यार अब देख लिया बहुत अच्छा हो के बस कर लिया हर एक का जो करना था अच्छा अब आगे क्या और कितनी जिंदगी ऐसे एक वो थॉट प्रोसेस भी जाता है थॉट प्रोसेस राइट सो वाज देयर पुशबैक इन सम वे
there was pushback, more so to do with myself, is that it wasn't in the forms of frustration or anger or rage, but it was in the form of self-pity. People forget, I feel like, that self-pity is also a sign, or a sign of pushback, जो कह रहे हो, that when you start thinking that सही नहीं हुआ मेरे साथ सही नहीं हुआ, like it doesn't need to come out in the worst forms. It's just you reflect and you say ये सही नहीं हुआ. And you get so stuck in that mindset, that you can have the most positive outlook with others. But deep down, when you start thinking that way, when you start believing that, that's when it takes a toll. That's when physically it can be seen on you. That's when mentally you can see it taking a toll on yourself. So yes, pushback in that form, I did experience that, yes.
So you did experience episodes of self-pity or went like कि नहीं, because you're right, this does happen कि wait, और मैंने तो किसी का बुरा नहीं किया था ना.
Yeah.
When did I go out of my way and consciously try to harm anyone or hurt anyone? तो मेरे साथ ही ऐसा क्यों, right? Or why did the world do this to me in so many forms? What about career in all of this? So I know you're an interior designer, but I know there have been lots of U-turns or dabbling in different sectors as well. So tell me something about that.
Interior design, I started working in the field right after getting done from grammar. I was just like, it was a family friend of ours. She was an architect. And I was just really interested into how these things happen, because I used to paint a little bit back then, and she wanted to put up some of my paintings in her projects. I'm like, okay, sure. So I went along with her. And जब मैं site पे गया, मैंने ना पहली बार एक grey construction, that's construction without structure खड़ा हो गया, but there's no window, doors, nothing. मैं पहली बार उस जगह पे गया, and I kid you not, I had like a moment of a flashback, and I realized when I was a little kid, अभी तक वो जूतों के डब्बे मेरे पास पड़े हैं. You know what I'd do? I'd stack up shoe boxes and make cutouts. I'd make like full houses out of them.
I had no idea, Mikael.
And I had no idea. Like the thing is that I didn't realize ये मैं बचपन
Oh
से
my
ये चीज़ें कर रहा
God.
था. And मुझे वो ऐसे जो flashback आया है ना, it's like I didn't see a grey structure. I saw like a full house. And मैं उनसे बातें कर रहा हूँ, she's just noticing कि what this little kid who's just done with his A levels, ये क्या बातें कर रहा है? You know, like I was telling her for wall treatments, what type of furniture, this, that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And eventually I just started going to more sites with her, and I just started actually practicing in the field.
Yeah.
A few months later, I was sitting in her office and I was working there.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened. And it was very interesting, very organic. And then I chose to pursue that in the form of education.
At Indus Valley.
At Indus Valley, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But from architecture and interior design, there have also been other U-turns,
Yeah,
dabbling.
yeah, yeah.
So tell me about that.
So that happened after I graduated, I continued to work in the field.
Yeah.
And alongside that, I began to teach in the field. And I started taking tuitions as well. Then I became a design lead for a company. It was their design team.
Yeah.
It was an online mobile application platform, and I became the design lead for their Pakistan team.
Okay.
So I was doing all of these things, but eventually, with that 9 to 5, with that freelancing, I tried all aspects. It wasn't fulfilling my desire or my need. It wasn't making me content. And one fine day, after like literally almost a decade, one fine day I sit and I just stopped everything overnight.
You stopped everything?
Everything overnight. And that is the moment, actually, just connecting this to our earlier conversation, that is the moment that I realized what I was going through. That moment of self-pity, that pushback, that mindset, the societal expectations, the monthly income, that is the moment where I thought about all of that. And one fine day I switched my phone off. And I obviously tied up everything via email, jo bhi pending cheezein thi, switched my phone off, and I was like, this chapter is on pause or it's done for me at the moment. Then I wanted to dabble into the culinary world. And these are all things one by one that I've just been doing since I was a kid, or realizing since I was a kid, that bachpan se bhi, just a small example is that Christmas time pe मैं मॉम के साथ लगा हुआ हूँ. क्रिसमस केक हम बना रहे हैं, बैचेस बना रहे हैं, खाना बना रही है मॉम, तो मैं किचन में घुसा हुआ हूँ. I want to see what she's making, how she's making it, what she's doing. And I also saw my dad cook when I was really young. My dad used to be doing barbecues. We had a fairly social setting. And I wanted to dabble into the culinary world. And I then started a small business on the side a couple of years ago. And it's been very interesting, because that has ignited something in me that those 10 years of working in architecture, interior design, studying it, teaching it, practicing it, didn't give me that fulfillment. It didn't give me. And after that, it's fine arts, which I left in 2015.
Wow. That was like a lifetime ago.
It feels like a lifetime ago. It feels like a lifetime ago.
How was the reaction when you started entering the world of culinary? क्योंकि पाकिस्तान में काफी preconceived notions होते हैं when guys want to.
And it's surprising because there's so many businesses that are run by guys and they're all culinary, but unfortunately the feedback I received was not that great, to be honest with you. बात वही है ना कि ये तो, I'll never forget that dialogue actually. ये तो घर बैठे औरतें जो हैं वो करती हैं, जो कुंवारी होती हैं या शादी करके घर बैठ जाती हैं तो बिज़ी रहने के लिए. तो that did stop me from what I was doing for 1-2 months, but after that I'm like नहीं भाई, सोसाइटी को रहने दो, उन्होंने वैसे ही कहना है, फैमिली ने वैसे ही कहना है, दोस्तों ने वैसे ही कहना है, दुश्मनों ने वैसे ही कहना है, you know. तो उनको कहने दो, that's fine, that's okay, I wish them well. That's just not my cup of tea. I'm going to do me, and while I'm living, while I have these limbs, while I'm in my youth where I'm able to go about, have the ability to go about, you know, have the resources to do this, I want to utilize it. I don't want to be ungrateful, sit at home and dwell in self-pity. No.
Exactly. So how does art come into the world of culinary? Because
Mhm.
clearly right now,
Yeah.
Mikael is, and I can see this going places. I can already, because I
I
know
really
how
hope so.
passionate you are. I'm looking for like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
So,
know.
like, I can see this going places. So how does art come into all of this?
So I started painting with some food dyes initially. That's how it began. आर्ट तो मेरा चलता रहा था फ्रॉम ए लेवल्स ऑनवर्ड्स, फिर रुक गया था IVS से पहले, अब दोबारा से शुरू हुआ है वो, राइट. So I started painting with food dyes. That's what I was exploring with, staining things like that. Coffee वगैरह तो हर कोई करता है. So I'm like, I wanted something different. And then eventually I started using natural elements in my paintings, where I was taking out, extracting the colors, या literally using it. जो पालक के पत्ते जो हमारे गांव से आ रहे हैं, वो सिंधी में मैं डाल रहा हूँ उसमें, like जो हमारे गांव से जो पालक आ रहे हैं, जो टमाटर आ रहे हैं, जो चीज़ें आ रही हैं, मैं उनमें से डाइज निकाल के मैं मिक्स करके ऑयल्स के साथ मैं उसके साथ पेंट करता था. एंड वो
That's amazing.
it's like I said, it's organic. It's just what I wanted to do. As a kid, if I did the same thing, मुझे डांट पड़ती है, क्या सब्जियां ज़ाया कर रहे हो, you know what I'm saying? So it's just all organic, and I'm gonna do it, you know, because I want to do it.
But I'm so happy to know, because I didn't know all of this before this conversation, even though I've known you literally like my
A
whole
very
life,
long time,
literally,
yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
That there was so much happening, and right now you're so steadfast that okay, forget everything else. Now I just want to do this. Now just like let's just put all the noise aside, all the chatter aside.
Honestly.
So moving forward, what's the plan? What's like?
The plan is that I want to continue exploring what I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do want to find that monthly income that I've been talking about so much, but I want to continue doing what I want to do and not pay heed to what others say. I just disassociate from such people, and that's okay. They're okay. I don't wish them bad. I don't wish them harm. Everyone finds their match. Everyone finds their people, their circle, their friends, their family, whatever it may be. You will find someone that compliments you. If you're not complimenting me, if you're taking away from me, then I don't want to affiliate with you, and that's okay. I don't wish you harm. I'm just not your person. You're not my person. That's all. You know.
I think that's a brilliant way to close this, honestly.
Yeah.
And wow, this was one heartfelt, emotional conversation that I've had with you for the very first time on this in all these years that you have come over since I've seen you.
Yeah.
This is like, I could hug you right now. But thank you so much.
Of course, thank you for, you know, such relevant and relatable, you know.
I feel there's need for this, and there's need for people like you to get up and be like, बहुत हो गया है. Now we do what we want to do.
We gotta do what we gotta do.
More power to you. Thank you so much, Mikael.
Of course.
Thank you so much, guys. I honestly had an incredible time talking about this with Mikael. I didn't realize how this conversation would flow. It was very heartfelt. It was very honest. It was very raw. Thank you, Mikael, and thank you.
Thank you.